This is the regular meeting for November 19th, 2025, convening at 5:31 PM. Madam City Clerk, can you please do the roll call?
Councilmember Nakanishi. Here. Councilmember Hothy. Councilmember Craig Hensley.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Yupez. Mayor Bregman.
Here.
Thank you.
And if our city attorney would announce the closed session items.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council will convene in closed session regarding item C2A, Conference on Labor Negotiations regarding all of the city's union groups, unrepresented employees, confidential employees, and appointed employees pursuant to Government Code 54957.6. Item C2B, Conference with Legal Counsel, Threatened Litigation regarding Government Claim 2545 submitted by claimant Scott Carney pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D2. Conference with Legal Counsel Anticipated Litigation, Significant Exposure, 2 cases pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D2, and Public Employee Performance Evaluation for the 3 appointed positions pursuant to Government Code 54957B.
Is there any member of the public that would like to speak on closed session items? Any comment cards? Seeing none. Council's convening to closed session at 5:32 PM. Council's returning from closed session at 7:01 PM. Madam City Attorney, can you please report on closed session items?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council convened in closed session regarding items CA through D, and there is no reportable action at this time.
Thank you. And now we have our invocation from David Diskin. If you would please lead the charge.
Thank you so much. Tonight, I have the honor of opening our city council meeting right before Thanksgiving. I don't know about you all, but I am looking forward to spending the afternoon with my closest friends, sharing food with each other, catching up on our lives, and I don't know, watching a movie or something. Did you ever go around the table at Thanksgiving and take turns sharing with each other something that you're thankful for? I know that I did. Maybe we can do that again tonight. When we make our announcements or we do our public comments, maybe we can just add one thing that we're truly, sincerely thankful for, and I'll go first. I'm thankful to have the privilege that many others don't, to have time off next week to spend with my friends, to be able to afford a lovely meal that I know my other families cannot. I'm thankful for my health, for delicious vegetarian alternatives, and for sugar-free desserts that keep my diabetes at arm's length. I'm thankful for democracy and open meetings like this that allow an atheist like me to participate in the same capacity as my religious colleagues. I'm thankful for all of you. I know I may not express it, certainly not on Facebook, but I know that your job isn't easy, and I do appreciate your time and commitment to the city and to the people, even when we don't agree. So now, for you and others who might speak tonight, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, let's be humble, acknowledge the privilege that we have, and share with each other that for which we're thankful. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And if all would rise for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, this is the regular meeting for November 19th, convening at 7:03 PM. Madam City Clerk, can you please do the roll call?
Councilmember Nakanishi? Here. Councilmember Hothy?
Here.
Councilmember Craig Hensley? Here. Mayor Pro Tem Lopez?
Here.
Mayor Bregman?
Here, thank you. And we have two proclamations for tonight. If Chief Garcia, would you please join me at the stadium, or the podium, stadium. Law Enforcement Records and Support Personnel Appreciation Week. Whereas the Lodi Police Department's Records Division is a vital part of law enforcement, providing essential administrative and technical services to ensure the accuracy, accessibility, and integrity of the police information. And these professionals perform a wide variety of duties, including processing reports, maintaining records, providing customer service to the public, supporting officers and investigators, and ensuring compliance with local, state, and federal reporter standards. Their attention to detail, professionalism, and commitment to the public service contribute significantly to the overall effectiveness, accountability, and transparency of the department. Law Enforcement Records and Support Personnel Appreciation Week is an opportunity to recognize and honor the dedication and contributions of the employees who work behind the scenes to ensure the department operates at the highest standards. Now therefore, let it be resolved that I, Cameron Bregman, the mayor of the city of Lodi, do hereby proclaim this week of November 9th through 15th, 2025, is Law Enforcement Records and Support Personnel Appreciation Week in Lodi in recognition of the professionalism, dedication, and invaluable service provided by these employees to the Lodi Police Department and the community. Signed this 19th day of November 2025. And when I look at, again, all that goes into our police department, I think about a chain and a link. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And in Lodi, we cannot afford, especially in our police department, to have a weak link. So again, what I would say here today is this is a vital part of our city. It's a vital part of our police department. And thank you, just as we thank the officers that patrol our streets on a regular basis. So thank you again for your service. And we appreciate you all being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council, for acknowledging this is a very important week. Like the mayor said, our records division is very important to us. They are a vital and essential part of our organization. And although you don't see anything, out that they do a lot of work, and they serve this community, and they work as hard as everybody else. So today I have Tanya and Brenna, two members of our records division with us. And I'd like to give a shout out to Becky, Brenna, Tanya, Miranda, Christine, Amber, and Renee for all the work they do to keep us going. And I thank them for everything they do. So thank you. Put a picture of that.
And I think next up, we are giving away is it $18,000 check? So we have a presentation of nonprofit allocation check to Community Partnership for Families of San Joaquin. And this was done through two council districts. That would be Lisa Craig's district and Ramon Yepez. So if you would everybody that's a part of this, please join me at the podium for the presentation of the check. And we have Lindsay Ness, Jeanette Vargas, and we have one other individual a part of the board.
Go ahead. I'm sick today.
I know. This is exactly what the council's intention was when we established this $100,000 to go to our local nonprofits to leverage or to seed funding for private sector support, again, back to public-private sector. I'm very proud of the fact that Community Partnerships for Families, which is located actually in what's that? Yeah, it's in Vice Mayor Yepez's district, but impacts all families in not just Lodi, but San Joaquin County. So their program that we are funding, and Lindsay will talk more about, I'm sure, is CPF Works. And council had decided that we would fund organizations based on priorities established in our strategic plan, and creating new opportunities and increasing the average revenue of individuals and families in Lodi is one of our primary goals under economic development. So we were very pleased to see them come forward with this. While I couldn't support the total $20,000 that's allocated, I did work with council member to basically see if we could split those funds up. So we were very happy to be able to partner with them together and make this first check presentation. So I think on behalf of the council, we are presenting to the Community Partnerships for Families the big check for $18,500, and the real check which apparently goes to their president, Kathy Smith. So they're so Lindsay, you want to say a few words?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm Lindsay Ness with Community Partnership for Families. I'm here with Janet Vargas, our Lodi Family Resource Center Community Development Manager, and our board chair, Kathy Smith. Thanks for being here. I want to say a huge thank you to Council Member Craig and Council Member Yepez for this discretionary grant in support of our CPF Works program at our Lodi Family Resource Center. This investment directly helps our community members gain skills, training, education, and employment in our wraparound case management program here in Lodi. Also, as nonprofits, we're truly grateful that the council has made discretionary funds available to support the important work happening across our community. And we are hopeful for its continuance so this support can strengthen all the great work that's being done across Lodi. So we look forward to updating you on our ongoing success in our CPF Works program as we go throughout the year. Thank you so much.
I think let's come right over.
All right,
So thank you.
all right.
You guys want to do the picture?
Yes,
Okay.
that would be great.
Hold that on this side.
Yeah, we don't do big checks here. So this is a lot of fun. Oh, so just wait in the office.
Thank you. Okay.
All right. And now we have the consent calendar items. Now, for those in the audience, we do have a 5-minute limit on public comments. And there is a section for non-agendized items if you would like to speak on anything. That will be later on. But would any members of the public like to pull any consent calendar items? If so, please come to the podium now.
Mayor, I do have one comment card for C2
C2.
from Dawson.
Okay. And we'll go ahead and hear what you have to say now.
Council, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Dawson Hare, and I'm the Vice President of Lodi Bob's. I'm here tonight to talk about Salis Park, because what's happening at Salis Park is bigger than vandalized lights and damaged equipment. It's about protecting one of the most important spaces our kids have in the city. As you all know, the lighting project at Salis recently began. This project has been talked about for years, and finally getting started was a huge win for the families who rely on that park. But since construction began, we've had over $100,000 in vandalism. That's not a small setback. That's a major blow to a project that was meant to make the park safer and more usable for our youth. And here's what I need to emphasize. This isn't just a damage to infrastructure. This is a damage to a place that hundreds, realistically thousands of kids use every single year. Baseball, softball, football, practices, clinics, games. Salis is one of the busiest parks in Lodi. And for many of these kids, it's their safe space. It's where they learn teamwork, burn energy, build friendships. For families, it's a place they depend on. When the park gets vandalized, it's the kids who pay the price first. They lose fields, they lose somewhere to go after school, and when you take away their spaces, kids don't magically find better ones. They just end up with fewer options. The city currently has $500,000 set aside for parks. I'm asking that a portion of that be directed toward repairing the damage at Salis and ensuring the lighting project is completed correctly. We've already invested in that park. Leaving it damaged not only wastes that investment, it sends the wrong message. It tells the community that vandalism wins. It tells our kids that the spaces they rely on aren't worth fixing. And let's be clear, Salis is not just another park on a long list of parks. It's a staple in this community. Generations of kids have played on those fields. It's one of the few places in Lodi where youth sports thrive, and it's a place we should be protecting, not letting crumble. This isn't just about spending money, it's about priorities. It's about protecting the work that's already been done and making sure that our kids have a safe, clean, functional parks they can take pride in. When we invest in these places, we invest in the community's future. So tonight, I'm asking that council to allocate part of that parks fund to restore Salis Park, finishing the lighting project the right way, and showing families of Lodi that we're committed to providing safe, well-maintained spaces for the kids who use them every day. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have any other members of the public that would like to comment or pull any items on consent? Seeing none. On consent calendar items? Okay. Do we have any council members?
Mr. Mayor, just to follow up on Mr. Hare's comments, it is my understanding in reading through the staff report on this project that we are allocating $110,000 of surplus funding to this work for improvement. The only thing I would add is because of the fact it is along a UP line, and UP itself has strategies for addressing encampments along their lines, that just a follow-up with UP, obviously they've requested it be repaired and strengthened, but this is something that running along the entire UP line, we need to address, particularly as it relates to places like the softball complex, Salis Park, which is running along the UP lines. So I'm glad to see this is happening. It is Mr. Hare going to be funded on consent. I'm just unfortunate that we have to deal with these issues in all of our parks. So, but Salis is getting the funding to complete the lighting. We've already made that determination. So I look forward to the opportunity to see that park fully lit and for our young people to play sports there in a safe manner. So thank you, Mr. Hare.
Thank you. Are we giving direction to staff to connect with UP on that? Maybe give a report back?
I actually had spoken to Mr. Lindsay about that previously, so.
If we can give that to council in its entirety.
Got it. So you would like staff to return back to council on our communications with Union Pacific?
Yep, that would be great. Thank you, sir. Any other items to poll?
So C7, I'm seeing the price tag 310 to redo that alleyway, is that correct? Could you just speak to what the extent of that work would be?
Yeah, I got that one. So yeah, that's our kind of typical alley project where we go demo the whole thing. Before we do that, we will TV the sewer line to make sure there's no problems that need to be fixed at the same time. Assuming there's none, then we'll go in, fix any drainage problems, redo all the pavement, put in accessible approaches on each side, and leave it looking really nice.
So that this is the one alleyway for the year, and then,
We do have another one program that you'll probably see in a month, maybe two.
and this is based off of that grading scale that you all previously.
Yep, yeah, we rate them all. This is the one that's the majority of CDBG funds, the Community Development Block Grant, and then the other one that's coming back is the additional funds that you guys asked us to make use of this year for an extra alley.
And we're finding that roughly each one of these alleyways is in the 300K.
Yeah, 300 is kind of total usually. Some of them are really long and they're a little more, some are smaller and they're a little less, but 300 is kind of turnkey. With the CDBG money, we've got specific labor compliance requirements that we have to have a third party do, some third party environmental. So those, a little less goes into the ground than our locally funded ones, but that's a good number is 300,000 per.
Got it, thank you.
And Dr.?
Nathan, alleys have always been a concern to city council throughout the years.
Doctor, if you would turn on your mic. There you go.
Throughout the years, alleys. How much do we spend each year? About 600,000?
This year, that's the plan, maybe a little less because the CDBG wasn't quite 300. But historically, we're probably more like 300 every other year. We've kind of talked about before about a future discussion of alleys and the funding that's needed to get them more. We have 140 in town, and so the number of needs are really high as far as the really poorly rated ones, and the funding's just not there.
So we don't have any budgeted money for the alleys. We get it when we have the money here, or CBDG funds.
Yeah, historically, they've been mostly CDBG funds, and we split a lot of that with parks, and community development uses a lot of that also. So it's typically, 200-ish thousand every other year is probably what we average from CDBG on alleys. So this year, we've made some money from streets or Measure K, I don't remember exactly, but one of our streets funds to add another one per council's request.
Okay, thank you.
Any other council members? Seeing none, and I don't believe we've had any items pulled for separate voting, I will take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? And now we have our city clerk to inaugurate our new commissioners in.
Yes, we're actually going to have our Deputy City Clerk, Maria Ditmore, swear in our newly appointed boards and commissions members. So if you were appointed tonight, please come up to the front.
And we have Rhea Jones from the Senior Citizens Commission. We have Joshua Lydon to the Planning Commission, Christine Tron, and Genevieve Sharma to the Lodi Improvement Committee, and Joe Worrell to the Lodi Arts Commission. If all would please come forward. And if you misstate anything, you actually lose the job. I'm sorry, but just make sure you do it right, Thank you.
Miss Olivia, are they not invited to the Boards and Commissions holiday party tomorrow night?
They are.
They are.
Actually, Maria was going to take care of that right now. But
And if you're anything like me, you don't miss a free meal, let me tell you. All right. And I believe we're going to be on non-agendized items. If any members of the public would like to speak on non-agendized items, we will do so now. Do we have any comment cards?
yes, and I will call upon those that have submitted a card. If you do to submit a public comment for non-agenda items, please feel free to fill out a card either here in the front or in the back and bring it forward, just so that I have them in order. And the first comment card I have is from Lindsay Davis.
Good evening, council. As David recognized, Thanksgiving's coming, and I want to say what I'm thankful for. I am thankful that there's a council here to hear me in person. I'm thankful for a mayor that's responsive. And I'm thankful to live in Lodi and have opportunities that some do not. So I'm thankful for many things. And now that that's out of the way, I'm going to say what I'm not thankful for. Well, that's not true. So I've been put in a position, and by the way, I'm Lindsay Davis, and I'm a former candidate for District 4 as a last year. And also, I'm the chair of the Improvement Committee here in Lodi. And so I'm excited to welcome new members. I've been put in a position with a neighbor I have a neighbor that has a lot of things that most of us, we should be grateful for what we have. However, I've reached out to City Council in an email formerly. Recently, I've reached out to every one of you. And I've also, this has been an ongoing issue for the 4.5 years that I've lived in Lodi. And to my understanding, it's been an issue for much longer. And I'm feeling that I'm getting nowhere. And I'm sort of in a point of desperation because I'm not sure where else to go. I've gone to the city website. I've done all of the things. I've done my due diligence to reach out to the correct people. I've reached out to animal control. I've reached out to council members and city attorneys. And I've reached out to Health and Human Services. I've reached out to the county vector, excuse me. And short of writing the newspapers and hoping that there's someone above all of that, I'm not sure where else to go. We have a resident that can't take care of things she needs to take care of on her own. There's not family that can help her do so. And as a caring neighbor and someone who cares about my community, I'm doing all that I can to take care of the situation. However, it's hazardous, and it shouldn't be on me to take care of. Animals are suffering, and I've reached out to animal control to be told that there's a 72-hour notice put on the door to a home where no one's there. I'm currently hospitalized. No one's going to be there. I was told that because I love animals, I should go and feed them. So I have, and it's dangerous. I shouldn't be put in this position. Wasn't able to reach animal control as I've called for 2 days in a row with no one answering the phones. I've left messages. No one's called me back. I've emailed animal control after I reached out to the entire city with no response. And I thought, okay, I'll give the 48 hours and hope that maybe someone will get back to me. I understand people's lives are busy. But at what point does something happen? I understand there's rules and policies and notices that need to be had and all of that, but at what point does it change? And no amount of me reporting is changing anything. So what am I supposed to do when the laws don't seem to matter? And I'm in a position to not even know if the animals that I've been willingly caring for so that they don't, die, I don't even know. So I have to go and check on them tomorrow because I've not been notified if anything's been done. I've taken pictures of the notice on the door. I've sent it to everyone I know how to send to. And I'm here in desperation as a resident and as a concerned community member. There is a woman that needs help. And even with all my due diligence, nothing is being done. And I was told, and I was actually really thankful to run into Officer Katie Koeman on another street in my neighborhood, which I pulled over in the middle of my day and spoke to her about my grieves and what am I supposed to do? And she said, well, oh, you're Lindsay. Yeah, okay, so someone heard my message, that's great. And she said she would get back to me at the end of the day. I didn't get a call. And now, and short of driving to animal control, I don't know what else to do. I'm here in desperation. Someone please do the right things and make sure that these animals don't die, and make sure that you're taking care of your district and you reach out to residents when they have a real concern, considering biohazard conditions that are also affecting the entire community, as well as the women living in these conditions. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Chief, can we get an update on that if it's appropriate?
Sure. I spoke with our animal services manager today, and they're working. They were able to get a hold of the owner, and they're going to work with that owner to rehome all the chickens. So I can work with you to make sure they reach out to you and give you an update. But yeah, I spoke with them today, and there is a process, but they're working on it, and they were able to get a hold of the homeowner, and they're going to work with the homeowner on making sure that the chickens get a good home and they rehome them. So.
And if we're able to get in contact and approval from that owner, then we don't need to wait for the 72-hour notice? That's correct?
Yeah, that's why they're working with the owner, yeah.
Yep.
There's a process to everything. They're trying to work with the owner to make sure things are taken care of as soon as possible.
Can we clarify, is this a renter, or, because I think I heard this from Ms. Davis before, this has been a couple of years going on, and I'm not clear if we're talking about a renter, is this a welfare check issue, is the owner out of the area? What is the ownership situation?
So the owner isn't at home right now, and I'm not going to speak on the reasons why. However, they are working with her on getting that stuff done. I don't know if she's a renter, if she's a homeowner, I don't know
Okay.
any of those details.
So
I
the
just-
occupant of the property is not occupying the property currently?
They're not currently there, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And like I said, they're working with they were able to reach out. I followed up, and they're going to rehome, find new homes for these chickens, and they're working with her on that. So. That I'd have to follow up, so.
All right, thank you for that update.
Mayor, can I ask a
Doctor?
question? If you came to me, right, and asked me all these questions, I wouldn't know all the answers. I talked to my city manager. I said, what can I do as a city councilman advisor correctly? And if it was personal, I would tell you outside, but it would seem like it's from the city. So I'm asking, she had animal control, haphazard waste, unkept or I could ask you as an attorney, who do you go to?
So Animal Services would be the first.
We did
place
that, right?
To speak to code enforcement regarding animal waste issues. The two departments work closely together. If there's ever a report of something related to that, we can do a code enforcement matter if necessary. But you have to try to engage the property owner in getting them to correct. So they have to complete that notice period. In this case, it sounds like there was consent from the property owner to work on that process. So I think that's the best way to
That's
proceed.
the first
We
way.
can't go onto the property
First
until,
way.
yep.
Yes.
So I do unfortunately need to stop it going back and forth, but what I will do is this. Chief, if we can have an email follow-up, if I can request this to council on what the situation is, and if we can just make sure that Miss Lindsay is CC'd into everything as far as the updates on the home goes, as long as the property owner is okay with that.
Mayor, last question. I think we should have a place where, as a city councilman, who I can call, right? I call the city manager, I get the answer from the city manager, but I've not had this situation like you did, all 5 or 6 issues. But I'd like to know that too. I was thinking, if a patient comes see me, what do I tell them? It would be good to have a list where you give us information. Or for me, it's been the city manager, so I'll continue to do that.
So Chief, if we may, just keep council updated on this and Miss Lindsay in the loop on what's going on, since it is a concern in her neighborhood.
We'll work on that.
Thank you, Chief. Do we have any other comment cards?
Yes, I have 2 more. The next one I have is from Bailey Caswell.
I think this is downtown based, right?
It is. Tonight
Okay.
it is, yes. Hello, I'm Bailey Caswell, and tonight I'm speaking on behalf of the Downtown Lodi Business Alliance. Our president, David Claxton, and Vice President Dave Kirsten send their regards and thanks for your support making this holiday season really the most magical one yet in Downtown Lodi. As you may have heard, the Downtown Lodi Business Alliance is bringing a winter wonderland to downtown Lodi. Thanks to the generous returning sponsorship of Lodi Electric Utility, I think we have some people in the room right now. Our downtown streets are currently sparkling with overhead holiday lights, and those will stay up except for a brief moment where we turn them off so we can turn them back on again. Oops. Well, whatever. Beginning the Friday after Thanksgiving, the DBA will be decorating the official Downtown Lodi Christmas tree provided by the City of Lodi from Segali Brothers Christmas Trees. And my favorite part, we are erecting a full Santa's Village in Post Office Plaza complete with 2 new structures in addition to the gingerbread house from last year. It is all built and designed by Roger and Dennis from Lodi Beer Company and will be painted by returning artist and Lodi Arts Foundation President Kelly Pearl. Holiday celebrations officially kick off on Small Business Saturday, November 29th, with a full day of shopping local, free carriage rides sponsored by the DBA board from 12 to 4 p.m., and hot chocolate stand run by the Alpine 4-H Club. At 5 p.m., we'll be gathering in Santa's Village at Post Office Plaza for the official Downtown Lodi lighting ceremony, sponsored by Lodi Electric Utility. We're honored to have Mayor Bregman on board this year to flip the switch and help us light up Downtown Lodi. On Saturday, December 6th, the public will explore Downtown Lodi businesses with a brand new scavenger hunt starring our beloved Downtown Lodi mascot, Archie the Bear. We have little Archie the Bear figurines that will be hidden in participating businesses for the public to find for prizes that will encourage them to go to Downtown Lodi businesses. Let's see, they'll start with at the Rabbit Hole Trading Co. to hunt for Archie the Bear and end at Idle Beer Works to help drive more traffic to our Sacramento Street neighbors. Santa and Mrs. Claus will be in Santa's Village at Post Office Plaza from 2 p.m. To 6 p.m. along with live music, hot chocolate, and voting for your favorite Downtown Lodi holiday decor. We have one more event. There's a lot happening this holiday season, and we are very overwhelmed and in the Christmas spirit. On Thursday, December 18th, we have an after-hour shopping night from 5 to 8 p.m. Enjoy extended shopping hours at Downtown Lodi businesses, live music, photos with Santa and Mrs. Claus, and the final chance to vote in the decor contest before winners are announced. There will be free carriage rides offered every Saturday from Small Business Saturday, November 29th, until the Saturday before Christmas. I think it's December 20th, from 12 to 4 p.m., sponsored by the DBA board. Lodi Transit will also offer free public transportation on event days, making it easy for the community to join in the festivities. Thanks to council, the 90-minute parking street limit will also be extended to 4 hours during the holiday season from November 29th to December 24th. Thank you guys for helping us make downtown a place where people want to stay and spend their time and celebrate the holidays. We've worked really hard to make everything very magical, and we have more plans for the future. You can visit downtownlodi.org or to join our mailing list or follow us on Instagram at Downtown Lodi. Thank you so much. We hope to see all of you out there. Happy holidays.
Thank you again for what you do for the DBA and all of Lodi. Do we have any other comments on that from council? No? All good? You have
I
your,
just want to thank Bailey for all that she's done to energize and market these events, because really, it makes a big difference when you get it out there in social media. So just want to thank you for all you've done in that regard.
Amen.
We'll also make sure it's all on council's calendars. All right, the next comment card I have is from Samuel Vanderpool.
Hi, so I'm glad you guys did the whole Constitution oath thing earlier. It's great because that's pretty much what I'm here about is the Constitution. I'm a state national. I have paperwork right here, proves it. I've filled out an AOR, had notarized, sent it to the Secretary of State, all that. I am outside of the scope of the government, basically, when it comes to statutes and things like that. My motorcycle was taken on October 24th. You guys had a crackdown. You guys did that unlawfully. I need to be able to see a judge before you guys can steal my vehicle. Basically, you guys extorted me for my motorcycle without due process. And I plan to start a class action lawsuit with you guys if I don't get my motorcycle back, like within the next couple weeks. I have the paperwork here if you guys want. I'll leave it with somebody if you guys want to check it out. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm fuming about this. You guys stole my motorcycle, and this is just before the holidays. You guys should be ashamed of yourselves for what you did. You guys take everybody's vehicles and all this crackdown stuff just for the holidays. We're coming off of a Biden economy. You know what I mean? We only got 1 year with Trump, and he's doing tariffs. Nobody's got extra money. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's, you guys are, should be ashamed of yourselves. Thank you. You guys want the paperwork? I can leave it with them.
If you would, please leave it with our city clerk. Thank you. Any other comment cards?
Mayor, that's all the comment cards I have.
Okay, if we have any other members of the public that would like to speak on non-agendized items, please come to the podium now. Seeing none, I will close. Do we have any members of council that would like to speak on non-agendized items?
Just a couple of updates since the last meeting. In my capacity on the Rail Commission as chair, I had the opportunity to be part of the Gold Runner unveiling. For people who don't know what the Gold Runner is, it's the old San Joaquin's, which is Amtrak. And so it has a whole new name and is providing services throughout Northern California, actually down to Southern California. So we were represented in that unveiling event. The Great Chamber Mixer, Luis was at, that was supporting our microloan program, and Trail Coffee and California Capital was there. And if you haven't gotten an update on where they are with funding small businesses, Trail Coffee was one of those businesses that received a microloan. So that was very gratifying to see that in place. The Veterans Day event hosted by American Legion was at St. Peter's Church, had a huge turnout for that particular event, and then as well as a follow-up Veteran Stories at Vinewood Church. The mayor and I both attended that and heard from some of our vets the travails they've gone through in serving, but also the benefits and opportunities to being a member in the armed forces. And then finally, I want to thank Steve Veray and Christina for supporting the Myrna Wetzel Day at Candy Cane Park. They worked very hard with the community who raised all of the dollars to get the plaque commemorating Myrna's commitment, her advocacy to see Candy Cane Park revitalized. So wonderful turnout for that, and Mother Nature held out on the rain. Great event. Again, thank you to Mayor Bregman for attending that, and just the kind of thing that we need to focus on and celebrate those individuals who make contributions to our city. So thanks, and that is it, Mr. Mayor.
And do we have any other members of the council? Well, I can tell you, I currently serve as the commissioner for the Delta Conservancy, which Dr. Nakanishi, if you want to back, again, you'll be mayor for 2 weeks, hopefully, and so schedule that meeting, okay? But on any case, at our last meeting, we actually voted to appeal the tunnels project, learned quite a bit about all the bureaucracy and the lying that state government does on a regular basis. And so, to say the least, it's not good for the local area, it's not good for the Delta, doesn't make any financial sense, and it doesn't make sense for what is actually a growing valley. If you look at our population growth in the state, we expect to grow 1.7 million again in the Central Valley, and another 300,000 across the entire state besides that. Most of the future growth we're going to see is actually in this area. So we should not be allowing that water to go elsewhere, as well as the Delta is the largest, let's see if I can say this correctly, equestrian? Dr. Nakanishi, help me out with this.
Equestrian.
Equestrian?
Equestrian.
Equestrian.
Trian.
Thank you. On this entire coast.
Never mind.
I know there's certain words I can't do. But on any case, very proud to be a part of that and represent all the cities of San Joaquin. And that vote was actually taken unanimously. So this is a joint effort by actually multiple counties and even state representatives. So that is all that I have. And without further ado, we will move on to item F1. Madam City Clerk.
Item F1 is the public hearing to consider adopting a resolution setting the San Joaquin County Multi-Species Habitat Conservation and Open Space Plan Development fees for 2026. And our Deputy Director of Community Development, Cynthia Marsh, has that presentation.
Give it a second to pick up the PowerPoint. Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you may recall, this is an annual update for the multi-species habitat fee program. It has been in place for nearly 25 years. It was adopted by council in 2001. It includes a schedule of fees that are paid by property owners who are proposing to develop properties with non-agricultural uses. The funds are used to mitigate the impacts of that development on habitat-impacted lands within Lodi and San Joaquin County. All jurisdictions within the plan area must approve these updated fees on an annual basis in order to continue participation in the program. These fees are adjusted based on a financial model that's updated by SJCOG, and the program is administered by SJCOG. You can find out more information about what the program covers on sjcog.org/94/habitat. Here you can see a comparison of what the fees were in 2025 versus 2026. The most common fee here is the natural habitat classification or agricultural classification, and those fees are going up this year by $1,376 per acre, and that's due to increasing land acquisition values. We rarely have folks in our area who are submitting for these fees, but they come up occasionally. But in any case, we're required to update these pass-through fees on an annual basis. And if you have any questions, that concludes my presentation, and we recommend approval of these fees to continue participation in the program. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will now open the public hearing at 7:46 PM. Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing at 7:46 PM. Do we have any comments from council?
Serving on the COG, I would just say that, yeah, it's a route, or it's a process we have to go through to be able to get it up to COG for their approval. But yeah, in the 3+ years I've been on COG, I've never seen one within the Lodi city limits. So now that may change when we get annexation areas in, and we may see those additional costs. And I think that's just something that we're going to have to deal with as property owners in the development community down the road. But it is what it is, and acquisition of land is more costly, and that's where we are. So thank you for bringing this to council.
It might be good to explain what this is all about. When you buy property, you're taxed. That money is used to buy conservation land, so that's what the purpose is. It was approved by the city council many years ago. It's a good plan.
So yeah, actually, last time that I subbed for you on COG, they were talking about this specific,
Right.
And people had questions about this. So yeah. And also, I want to make a comment that this is the first presentation having the new format for the PowerPoints, saying 5 out of 5. So it's a good thank you, James, for bringing this, and for the all staff training last a few days ago. So yeah, that's good. It's going to speed up our meetings.
Move to approve?
A second?
All in favor? And it passes. And moving to item G1, Madam City Clerk.
G1 is to discuss and provide direction to staff regarding designated no parking times on Tokay Street to address traffic congestion during pickup and drop-off times at Vinewood School. And Mayor, you had requested this item on the agenda, I believe, a few weeks back now, so feel free if you want to provide any introduction to the item.
Absolutely. So I did have some residents reach out over traffic issues with Vinewood School. I did attend Vinewood Elementary just a few years ago. I do notice that at Lodi High, they have no parking signs for part of the days to help with traffic control. Is that correct, Sean? Can you talk a little bit more about that system?
So I think some of the parking, I'd have to go back and look because I wasn't kind of aware this is where this was going, but I do know we have a parking zone around there. That way, not all the students are parking in front of the residences. So I know that's part of the no parking along there. It's a special residential parking permit zone. I'm not sure about time for drop off and pickup at Lodi High.
Okay. If we can we create a report to, I think I'm the only one interested in this issue, my district. But again, I would like to see if there's any ways we can mitigate that traffic during school hours. And if any types of no parking signs in front of residences or along that narrow street, if that would help with again, that traffic flow. Could you come back with some answers on that next agenda?
Yeah, we can provide you some options and some background information. We did study it a little bit since it was requested a couple meetings ago. So we can kind of package that for you and give you a little bit better briefing on it if you want.
That would be great. Thank you. That's all I had for that item as far as tonight. Any other council member comments?
Wait, so you're not trying to get the signage up or what?
So it's actually, I'm trying to figure out what we have at Lodi High and if we can implement that at Vinewood and if that's going to help alleviate traffic the same way.
Oh, okay. I mean, I have one of these over in my district by Tokay High School. And you have, occasionally, I think PD will go out and provide reminders to people that this is a no parking area. And generally, it's complaint driven from the residents there. But in my experience in viewing it, seems to be effective for the neighborhoods as far as, but I just don't know about traffic flow, so.
Right. Would we be able to do any type of outreach along that street? I think that's Tokay Street?
Yeah, it is Tokay where we're talking about. I'm not sure what specific outreach we could do. I could tell you, every elementary school, it's the same problem. It's about 5 to 10 minutes for drop off and 10 to 15 for pickup, which is, usually like 8 to 8:15 in the morning in that range, and, 2:15 to 2:30. It's Vinewood, my kids have gone there for the last 8 years combined, so I'm very familiar with it. But we just looked at, Washington Elementary within the last few weeks, the same issue. We've looked at Larson. I mean, every school, it's the same issue. This specific area, we do have cars that do park there for pickup that entire stretch. So we probably wouldn't recommend, discouraging parking there because then they're going to move into the nearby residences. One thing to note about Vinewood is the school is planning to reconfigure their parking lot to take some of that queue off of the street and put it in the on-site. We've our plan has been to wait for that project to be completed and then evaluate if there's anything else we can do. That's probably what we would recommend here. Unfortunately, that's not expected to be open till summer of '27. So, like I said, we can package it a little bit more information, kind of some visuals to show you what we're talking about, but it is the same at pretty much every elementary school in town.
Okay, well, and maybe we should do something broad scaled if, again, this is an issue at every single school. So I would be interested in possibly seeing some public outreach to those residences near the houses or residences near the school. But if we could figure out what the design of the school is going to be in the future, maybe contact the school, see if they have any suggestions themselves.
We do have a layout, a conceptual layout that they provided us a little while ago that we could circulate if needed. The other thing we could do is if we start kind of our special meetings or the shirt sleeves back again, we could do one specifically on traffic around schools because they're all pretty much the same. And part of it stems from a lot of these schools were built in the 60s, 70s, 80s. More kids walked to school then, so you had less vehicles. Some of the school sites, they are working to improve and add more queue length. I know Lodi Middle School's doing that right now. And they've done a lot over the years to improve the safety of all their kids that walk. And being part of traffic for Public Works, we go out and observe all the time because we get complaints all the time. And we work with the schools to see if there's obvious ways or convenient ways to make things better. And they've done a good job. It's kind of, we do take it for granted when you don't see it all the time, but we do work with them a lot. And so I'd suggest maybe something like that, like a working session or at least an informational session to talk about all the schools and just general traffic that applies to all of them, if that's what council wants to hear about.
I would like that. And actually, I'm going to add one more thing, which is if that right side of so when you're actually going west to east on Tokay Street and you're actually entering Vinewood parking lot, so you have that whole section of Tokay Street, it's actually could almost make it a double lane if you had no side parking. If we made that into a complete right turn lane, okay, and no parking, the issue that Vinewood has is they have people that are turning in their school and then the traffic sits and then it backs up. So if you had a lane specific to people turning right into there, then you can still have the traffic flowing on the left. So.
Yeah, I know what you're
again,
saying.
options.
I think that was kind of the request that came in. We did note that when we went out there and observed that entire parking lane was used for pickup. So that's, 10, 12 cars that are now
Somewhere else.
somewhere else.
Right.
The entire delay, if you were to sit and wait, you're probably 3-4 minutes tops if you happen to get in there in the worst amount of time. Like it said, that's consistent, or better than some of our elementary schools. So,
But if we can make it better, and if it's as simple as possibly just dividing lanes, would you be able to come back to council with that one item?
Well, how about if we reconvene a 2x2? We haven't had a 2x2 in quite some time. If City Clerk, maybe we could reach out to the school district and we hash this out. I mean, just so we have complete
Yeah.
coordination between the district.
Okay, sounds good. With that, I'll go ahead and move on to item G2. I don't think we need a motion on this item at all, just informational. In fact, did I take any public comment for this, Olivia?
We did not.
Okay.
So if you want to open it up.
I need to. Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak on this item? Please come forward now.
Lindsay Davis, here to speak about public school systems. What about the school bus? I know that people used to walk to school, bike to school, but people also used a school bus. It used to be a bus that would take kids to and from school every day. It eliminated the need for parents to be late for work. They put their kids on the school bus, they come home on the school bus. I understand that costs money, but is there some money allocated to bringing back more of that? I understand we have our city buses that are they still free for students? And do people know this? Because when my son was taking the bus to and from school, when I needed him to, he had friends that had no idea that this was even an option. So if we don't bring back the yellow school bus because of funding, is there a way to market and to actually bring awareness and outreach to parents or guardians that their children can take the bus for free to their neighborhoods? That would really eliminate a lot of traffic for those interested and who become aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Any other members of the public on this item? Seeing none. And now we can move to item G2. Madam City Clerk.
Item G2 is review of the city's curb, gutter, and sidewalk maintenance policy, and I will turn it over to our interim city manager.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. This item was asked to be put onto the agenda at the request of my Vice Mayor Yepez and Councilmember Craig Hensley, specifically related to how does this city handle the responsibility of sidewalk repairs and maintenance, and also what is the threshold by which building permits are required to take non-compliant sidewalks and driveways and curb and gutters and bring them into compliance with city standards. So what I'm going to do is tackle the maintenance item first, and then I will summarize the building code requirement. The last time the city council took up the question of sidewalk maintenance was about 10 years ago. The cost sharing provisions that is in the council policy is what I would classify as maybe a little bit more generous than what I've seen in other cities. The California Streets and Highway Codes put the responsibility of sidewalk maintenance squarely on the property owner. And that's been in the California Code since the 1930s. So that's a longstanding provision. How cities then choose to enforce that responsibility is unique to each jurisdiction. And the last time the council looked at it, as I said, was in 2005, at which point the council established a limit that if a sidewalk tripping hazard or an offset within a sidewalk was less than 1.5 inches, that the city would repair that at no cost. We would just ask the property owners bring it to our attention. In fact, on tonight's consent calendar, you approved the completion of a grinding program, which was specifically for that purpose. If there is an offset that is greater than 1.5 inches, then the property owner is asked to complete that repair pursuant to state code. In the event that we determine that that offset was created by a tree within the city right-of-way, the city will pay 100% of that cost of that offset of over or greater than 1.5 inches. The homeowner, if they need to have time to do that repair, or if they need 12 months to repay the city, we do have provisions in the policy to offer that opportunity, and that's something that I've talking to our interim Public Works Director. We will start including that in our correspondence. The example that was provided to you at the last meeting omitted a few of the cures and opportunities for payment programs, or using our share program where we could defer it for low-income households. And so that is how we've taken our sidewalk maintenance program and applied it then to adjacent property owners. The next component of the policy discussion tonight is what does our municipal code say when somebody is improving their private property through the building permit process, and at what point do the frontage improvements, which we would classify as curb, gutter, sidewalk, driveways, have to be upgraded to meet city standards. In a commercial area, this is often sometimes ADA requirements within the public right-of-way. Is the sidewalk wide enough? Are the slopes of the driveway, curb, gutter no longer adequate for drainage? Those are the types of things we would look at in the public works process. What building permits trigger this type of review is based on the value of construction. So if I'm approving my residential property and that construction value exceeds $75,000 currently, then that puts my plan review with the city subject to a review by Public Works to determine if the frontage improvements do meet city standards or not. If they do not meet city standards, the homeowner is asked to make those improvements as part of that building permit project. Commercial property owners face the same requirement as well. Again, we're finding, actually, we went back and looked at the number of permits we issued last fiscal year, and approximately 12 permits for sidewalk replacement or repair were done as a result of this process. That $75,000 value is adjusted annually automatically using a cost of construction index that we use. It's called the Engineering News Record, ENR, similar to CPI. So every year that number does go up, but not by the same amount that the cost of construction goes up. And so one of the items related to direction tonight is if the city council is interested in seeing less or lower valued projects, residential and commercial, be subject to that type of review and updating of our public infrastructure. We've talked about it at a staff level, and we believe $150,000 level would be a meaningful level. It would also then weed out a lot of permits that folks wonder, why am I asking to replace a sidewalk when I'm installing solar panels? And so we're not seeing many solar systems go up at that value. So it captures a lot of minor projects if we were to look at increasing the value of construction that would trigger the frontage improvements. That concludes my summary of those two topics. We're here tonight for council discussion to see if there's any changes that council's interested in making. We'll receive that direction this evening. Then we'll return back to the council at a future meeting with whatever implementing ordinances or resolutions are needed.
Thank you, James. Do we have any questions or comments from council?
So,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
this is gonna be a quick one.
ahead.
So what this started a conversation with me is that you're saying, so 70,000, like 70, right? Not 17,000. Because in
75.
Because in one of the businesses in the east side on Lodi Avenue, they were just updating something inside, and I think it was only like 20 something, 20 or 30,000, less than 30,000. And why then the sidewalk improvement was triggered then?
Without knowing the particular details, I'll make an assumption that that was related to ADA improvements that were required.
Okay, and then were the ADA requirements, does trigger at what amount?
Well, I'm going to look over to my team here to help us walk through some ADA requirements and see if they got any insights there.
So for the offsite stuff, if it's the roadways, it's the same threshold. It's a 75,000. If you want to give me an address, if you email me an address, I could pull the permit and tell you why it triggered. Occasionally, We do get things where somebody wants to widen a driveway, even if it didn't trigger it. But for the most part, anything less than 75,000 that they're not touching, if it's all on site, like a building permit stuff, then it wouldn't even be kicked over to Public Works for review of their frontage improvements.
I might also add, if an accessible path of travel leaves the public sidewalk and is now on private property in a commercial setting, ADA would still comply all the way to the door and threshold to the main entrance of the business. So it could have been that on-site work that possibly triggered that requirement. I couldn't think of an opportunity for that, but if we get the information, we can respond back more exactly.
Can you repeat that again, please? What you just explained?
Yes, a path of travel is defined in the code that says an individual walking through a public way or onto private property and into a primary area of business must be accessible. And accessibility changes annually. Different requirements are appropriately adopted at certain times and then implemented. So it could be that if there was an internal project that was just an interior renovation, if that project required an accessible measure be dealt with, it could be that the sidewalk leading to their front door from the public sidewalk may have been either a slope too great, a cross slope too large, or without a legal landing or an approach into the main building. Sometimes accessibility is attached, even if it's an interior project, it's an opportunity, according to the code, to try and bring businesses into compliance for accessibility.
Here in the explanation, I think that's what happens many times. That's specifically the case. It's not the amount of the project. And I don't know if that's specific, but that's what I think I'm hearing that team from the businesses.
And there are measures that an individual applicant can appeal. There are opportunities for business owners to address it as a timed improvement. So it's not just always a hardcore case where you must accomplish it. There are provisions that allow in the code to make those revisions or improvements over a little bit of time.
And just kind of piggybacking on that, from the Public Works side, even on the ones over the threshold, we do almost always offer a deferral agreement that might give them 2 or 3 years to put that improvement in, just as an option to help them out.
How about on the residential side, that so if the city finds out that a tree that is city property is moving the sidewalk, and now they are required the resident to update the sidewalk, what is the policy there? Like, can I get a quick, brief explanation about that?
So if are you talking about a city tree or a private tree?
Both cases.
So if it's a city tree, we use our on-call miscellaneous sidewalk contract, and we'll go out there and they'll remove it and replace it, and they'll charge the city, just based on our contract. If it's a private tree, then they'll usually get a letter. That's kind of like we talked about last meeting, a similar letter to that. It won't sound the same, the next time it goes out as that past one did, but and that usually gives them a timeline to do it. And then usually when they reach out to us, if that timeline is difficult for them, we work with them on kind of whatever timeline works for them.
Okay, since we were the two that brought this, and I very much appreciate some of the clarification that you've provided, Mr. Lindsay. I think it does help us. I would certainly agree with moving to the 150K level, whether it's for commercial or residential. Just a couple of things. I have to echo the sentiment. I have had no less than 5 property owners, because remember, some of us own properties, and then we have businesses and tenants that go in their properties, and then the tenants call and complain to the property owner about the fact that I'm going to have to do all of this work. And unfortunately, it isn't always at the $79,000. They get notice for reasons of accessibility on the interior, that the path of access out to the street level, then once you hit the street, then you're looking at a driveway or a large expanse on that parcel that has to be improved for ADA. So that has come up more than once. It more often comes up in businesses, commercial, than it does in residential, with the exception of the residential situation we had last time at the last council meeting. A couple of things, and again, this comes back to the experience in working and hearing from some general contractors. I am more comfortable if the city does the work than a private contractor, because there is sometimes confusion about what meets those requirements. And I think the city knows best to be able to say, let's do the work and then let's charge back. Now, my concern is that these are often very costly projects to do. And particularly if you're looking at a large expanse of sidewalk and larger parcels. The deferment for low-income households, or I assume that means in a low-income census district, makes sense, because that's what we've been looking at with residential and commercial property owners in those low-income census districts. I still, as I've seen in Antioch, would be interested in a cost share program of 50-50 in those situations where we have certainly a low-income area versus just a deferment. So that is something I would like to see added on top of the 150K. I would like to see the city doing the work and charging back for the work, whether it's a 12-month extension to allow to pay, or if somebody can afford to do it on a 50-50 cut at that point in time. I appreciate the fact we do offer that now. I do want to clarify something. The deferment up to 2 years is one thing, but there could also be a situation where a property owner may sell that property, and then the requirement for making that improvement goes along with the new purchase. Is that correct, Mr. Nathan? You're nodding your head.
That's correct. Yeah, it's a lien on the property, the deferral agreement is. So, when they pull a title report to sell the house, it shows up and they go through that. And sometimes they'll come in and do the work before they sell it, because
Yeah, they want to get
the
it
new
done,
buyer isn't
make it-
comfortable with the lien.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just transfers over.
Lisa, can I ask you a micro question really quick? On the deferral of this, so they can defer it out 2 years. Now, do they have to do all at once, or are you saying that they can do piece by piece over those 2 years?
They can go piece by piece, and even there's areas of town that, like, if no one has sidewalk around, it might not be 2 years, but 2 years is kind of our standard. We've also worked with them if they're part of a large plaza, like a large plaza that might be split up, and they have 4 driveways and none of them are compliant. Well, we might make them just do the one that's closest to their people that are going to do their TI, to try and work with them, because some of the other ones just aren't practical, just from a cost to relative to their improvement. But
Yeah, and I appreciate that sensitivity, because that is one of the issues that came up that we were dealing with for at least a year on a property owner. Again, with, you've got a tenant making an improvement, and all of a sudden the property owner hears that, they've got to fix 3 driveways. And so those kind of surprises don't work well when you're trying to get a tenant in, and they just aren't going to expect that they have to take care of that expense on their own. So the no surprises works well in all instances like that. And I appreciate getting more information out about this, because even the concept of the provision to make the improvement in the sale of the property is conditioned upon that. There are property owners I've spoken with that didn't realize that was the case. So I think they should do the responsible thing, obviously, but it's their property and their right. I do still believe that the city does the best work, because the city knows what the requirements are, because I've had contractors who've done it and had to redo it. So I think that I would prefer to see that approach, and in instances where we are dealing with a lower income residents or business owner in a census tract that is low income, that we look at that 50-50 cost share option. So those are just a few improvements that I think I would like to see based on what we know we already have in the code.
one thing, if just about the city's contract. So we do, like I said, we have an on-call contract we use, especially when it's cities work. The only other caveat to that is, like, all our work is prevailing wage. So our it's going to cost us more to do it than the homeowner can do it for. That's why, most, even if we offered it, give them the option, I would say probably 80-90% are going to choose to do it on their own, just because they're not paying prevailing wages that the city's required to pay.
And that's certainly reasonable. I think that's a consideration. I've just had the experience of the work having to be redone. And that, again, means that the contractor obviously wasn't sufficient in understanding what the requirements were, so.
So we do require, no matter what, if, I mean, not if we do the work, but they have to have a licensed contractor. They have to pull an encroachment permit. That's how we verify that they have a licensed contractor. And then our public works inspectors go out there and, make sure all the slopes are right, make sure it's built right from the time they frame it and pour it. So unfortunately, you get a contractor that doesn't know what they're doing and they pour it and it's wrong. They do have to tear it out, and that doesn't help anyone, but that's just kind of the nature of the beast for
Lisa,
work.
do you think we can be more communicative to the public when we're sending them notices? If you do decide to use a contractor, this is what we need to see?
I mean, I'm fine with that option if the prevailing wages are such that, they would do much better off with their own contractor. I still think that, when we're dealing with public trees or a situation where it's public infrastructure that's causing the problem, fine, because that is something we should take care of. But in some of these instances, as we heard last time, you've got a property owner that purchases a home with an 80-year-old tree that is causing uplift to the sidewalk and doesn't realize that they're eventually going to have to fix that. And so that's where I think we really need to consider a 50-50 cost share. And again, I would leave it up to the discretion. Some of these people don't really know how to find a contractor to do that work. If you're an individual and,
Can we
who
do a
find?
dual option?
I think
Just have the
that would
city
be
give them an
acceptable.
offer.
Yeah, I
It should
just,
probably be pretty easy. I mean, we can figure out a per foot cost. So it can be pretty much pre-budgeted, as in you're giving them,
yeah, I
every
think
foot
they can
is
choose
cost.
if they would rather, if it's someone that's like, I don't even know how to go about hiring somebody to do this. The sidewalk is my only fix I've got to take care of. Can the city do it? And I pay half the cost, then that's fine, So,
Mr. Nathan, would it be possible to have a dual option? So in other words, have the city come up with a cost structure, again, for an option for home residents is to have the city do that for them?
Yeah, I mean, we can bring an option back. If we do that route, I would say, build in there something that, allows that agreement to be executed at a department level or, a city manager level. That way we're not having to come back with agreements here. Also, if we did something like that, I'd probably appreciate if we could increase the city manager's change order authority to go along with all those. So we're not having to come back every time to increase that contract's authority just because it's being used for that purpose. But I think that something like that's definitely possible. We'd have to figure out also who's paying for that 50% that the homeowner's not paying for, because that's, our sidewalk money runs out every year pretty quick.
What is the amount of funds that we have in that?
So the last probably 3 or 4 years, we've done about 200,000 a year. Prior to that, it was 100,000 a year. And looking forward, it's going to be probably less than 100,000 a year. That doesn't go very far when you're talking about concrete.
in low-income areas, can CDBG funds be used to do this?
I'll defer to Jennifer, being that she's here.
As she's getting up, I'm gonna say that that's less money for our alley project that you all just authorized, so.
That is exactly correct. We do usually have limited CDBG funds that we try to rotate between Parks and Rec and Public Works projects. So it absolutely could be potentially something that's utilized in there because a lot of times those census tracts are exact ones that are in the CDBG target areas. But it would mean less funds to the other city infrastructure projects that we have going forth. And then you would also have labor compliance, which would increase some of the cost as well. So you may not get the biggest bang for your buck with some of those items.
I would also caution council that committing the city to provide those funds when we're not sure we're going to get a certain allocation of CDBG funds each year may be an issue if we're planning on that and then cannot back it up. So we would just want to make sure that there is a set-aside funding source if we are going to commit to providing matching funds or.
Yeah, I mean, I would understand that. And since you have 2 years to comply, it sounds like, it's something we could look at budgeting each year. And if there's only $200,000 we budget, well, maybe a portion of that ends up for a particular. It's not like we're going to see 50 or 60 of these projects coming in every year. So it's on a limited basis. And I think that that's where I'm dealing with trying to target it to low-income areas. So that's where I think the real need is, and those are the people that hit hardest when they find out that they're in violation and really don't have those additional resources to commit to a sidewalk repair. So I think that's all I have to say.
Yeah, and I would like to explore too that same idea where John was talking about that too. If we can research more that, how much would that cost to the city and how often, like those changes triggers that we update the sidewalks?
Are we speaking on private property now, not public?
No, public property.
That's not my domain necessarily, but as stated, any work in the public way is going to be more expensive than on private property for the prevailing wage requirements, if we are in fact requiring that. It's crucial to get licensed contractors who are educated on ADA, and I know it's a difficult topic. It's somewhat of a moving target. But Public Works has a lot of informational flyers, a lot of standard details, a lot of information that is already available to the public, contractor alike, to be able to look at that and make sure that they meet the requirements as stated, by ADA, but in conformance with our standard details. So they go above and beyond with providing information for those who are seeking to do work in the public way. So I think, it's just trying to make the public more available to review those things when they are anticipating doing a project in the public way. So, but the information is out there.
Dr. Nakanishi?
Yeah, I want to share my views. My views support what they're saying. I understand this can cost money for the sidewalks, but I always thought that Lodi was special. The sidewalks, the city takes care of. The state says that the private property is supposed to, right? And I like the idea that 1/2 inch, if you have a 1/2 inch problem, it goes to the property owner. More than 1.5 goes to the city, or 50/50. And the idea of 150,000, that's good. It should be done that way. And so I support everything you guys say. I support. I mean, I think it's a good idea. And we'll find the money. And the reason I say it is because this year I was given $100,000 for my district. All right,
20,000.
20.
We all.
Well, I would like that.
Yeah, I want to know who told you 100,000. Which
I would have
staff
given
member?
that 20,000 to corners, the streets in my district. So that's what I meant. Thank you.
I do have one question. So we're talking about subsidizing individual homeowners depending on income and everything else. But as far as subsidizing it, I have another kind of perspective on that, which is, are we differentiating, it may have already been said, but differentiating, there's spots in the city, like Oak Street, for instance, right next door, just as an example. But that has the Mo strip, right? In between the sidewalk and the street. And I guess that's considered city property legally, but then the homeowners actually have to take care of the property. And then if there's a city tree on that said property, that it's not actually the property owners, but it's the cities, and they plant it and we maintain it. If that starts to uproot or break up the concrete, then who's responsible for that? If you would, please.
Yeah, so those, we call those park strips, that little landscaped area between the curb and gutter and the sidewalk. Whether or not that exists or not, it's still the same sidewalk responsibility per the codes that interim city manager mentioned earlier. That tree, if there's a tree in there, that's a city tree. So in that park strip, if that tree's causing the damage, then that's on us and we'll go fix it.
Okay.
So they wouldn't even get a letter. Our contractor would just show up, tear it out and put it back.
And are home residences fined if that property's not taken care of?
From a landscape maintenance standpoint, yes. Well, they'd receive a notice. It would go a long ways out before they would get fined, but that is their maintenance responsibility. But the tree itself is a city tree, so we're responsible for the damage that tree causes.
And if I understand this correctly, people cannot have that area be grass if they get a permit for it?
So the way our code reads, it's been a little while, they can put grass in there without needing a permit. Anything other than grass does require a permit, and we don't always approve. Like if someone wants to concrete that area in, we're probably going to reject that permit.
Right. What's the cost for a permit for doing that?
I'd have to check. I can't remember if it's our $50 one or
Okay.
$150 one.
I
It's
think
one
it
of
is
those ranges.
$50. I was just wanted to make sure that that was in fact the charge.
Also, if someone comes in and just wants to redo their sidewalk, and that does happen sometimes, they say, hey, can I come in and fix this? I don't like the color of it or whatever. We hear a lot. If they volunteer to come do it, we waive that encroachment permit fee.
Okay.
Also, if, regardless of whether we require it or they come in, when they do tear out the curb and gutter, driveway, whatever, there's a stretch of asphalt next to that is required to be removed and put back in. And city crews do come and put that back in on their own. We don't require them to go hire a paving contractor to do a 14-inch wide strip in front of their driveway. That is a service that our streets crew provides.
Gotcha. And I did have one property owner bring up this perspective, and I'm not even saying that we can change it because there's other things around it, but the perspective was the property owner must maintain the property even though they have no ownership of it. And again, I'm not saying we should change anything of how our city currently functions, but it was actually a decent point, again, that was brought up. So when they go to sell their house, they don't get that added square footage, but again, it's still a liability towards them because they're mandated to maintain that. So just wanted to let our council members know and staff know just some of those different perspectives. But I'm glad that we again allow different landscapes along those sections of property. And I do understand why we, again, have to have certain types of trees there and we maintain them ourselves. So I don't think that at this time I can suggest that we change that. But do we have any other council comments or questions?
One quick question. Nathan, I walk around the cities, and when you have a crack 1.5 inch, you don't see it on every place, right? Maybe one area only. How much does it cost to just fix one area?
So we have a few different methods to fix it. As our interim city manager mentioned, we just wrapped up a sidewalk grinding contract. And so that's citywide, where we had a contractor come in. They hit roughly 2,000 locations, come in with a grinder, and that grinder limits at about 1.25 inches. So anything that's just a straight offset of that caliber, they'll come in and grind it. And that's really cheap. I mean, you're talking, I want to say it's like $30 a location. And so that's why we do that anytime we can. The problem is if you have to tear it out, if it's 2 inches, let's say, and you've got to tear out a panel on both sides of it, maybe a couple panels, I mean, it goes into the thousands really quick.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'd offer something up for just discussion since I'm hearing different points of view. But one of the common themes I'm hearing among the council is what can we do to help homeowners? And I think that there is a significant difference that we can make by increasing the communication. So when there is an issue and we notify a homeowner, we're including an easy-to-read city standard. We may even be able to include a list of pre-screened concrete contractors who know how to do this type of work. Be clear on deadlines, be very clear on the options of payment programs or neighborhood style. And so I would offer up an idea of we can bring back some policy changes that demonstrate what we need to include in that communication to the community. And let's stop at that point before we start looking at cost sharing. Knowing that once the city gets involved with the repair work, it does increase it. Typically, that is a 30% differential between prevailing wage and non-prevailing wage. And let's see how that works. And if that is working for our community, then we can continue without any additional city funds being budgeted for those larger gaps. So I'll offer that up.
I'd support that. I want to clarify something because we have talked about a deferral for low-income households. So do we base that on that household, or would you base it on a CDBG, for example, qualified census tract? I mean, I kind of want to see the mapping so that I understand what those neighborhoods are that would have that benefit.
It's the SHARE program is the criteria we use for our utility discounts.
Oh, okay.
That's the threshold. So as it reads, property owners meeting low-income eligibility criteria per the city's utility discount program SHARE may elect to defer.
Okay, so it's not necessarily a geographic,
No.
it's tied to, okay. Got
Tied
it.
to household.
Okay.
So I do think that's a great start, but not saying anything bad about the city, but the track record is that we don't communicate well. So how in the past we haven't communicated well, why are we going to communicate well now? So I want to see more research more on the cost sharing policy. What would that cost the city? How would that be implemented? I want more research on that. I feel delaying it would just be here again in a year or 2 years. That's just what I think.
I'd support pushing the trigger to 150 from 75. It sounds like there aren't the funds available, or we don't have an idea exactly readily available for this 50-50 split. So perhaps that's something that we explore later, but I'd support bumping it to 150.
I think we can support a half motion then.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with Mr. Lindsay's suggestion to come back with potential policy changes. The move to 150K is, I think, something council would all support. And while I'm focusing on residential, I would also say some of those small businesses I think about on Central Street, for example, would benefit. I mean, you get a new tenant that moves in, they have to make some improvements. The 150 threshold should hopefully address that issue. But I just want to be clear about what it is that we're recommending on policy changes to kind of reduce, and the communication is essential because a lot of these things were brought up. Apparently, tenants and property owners don't feel that this has been communicated to them as an option. So it is a critical component of it.
So if the motion passes, we need to bring back an ordinance in a second reading as a municipal code change. At that public hearing, we will also have a resolution to modify the policy that will include the material that we will communicate to the homeowners. So that'll be baked into the policy. And we can even show you an example of what that would look like with that policy change. We're going to come back to you anyway with this ordinance if the motion passes. So we'll come back with a resolution with some examples and also some samples of what would be included in correspondence.
Thank you.
One other thing, just I'd like to chime in, because we've had these discussions internally about, is there any type of permit you'd want to exempt regardless of the valuation? The main thing we thought about is solar. Two of the 12 permits that we had last year were just solar permits that were above the valuation, so those trigger it. That's always a fight with the contractor because it's like a solar contractor coming in and they're like, we're just trying to put solar on and now we've got to do a couple driveways. Yeah. So if you wanted the updated ordinance to include just an exemption from that requirement for like a solar permit, that might be something worth considering also.
I would just follow up with one other question. Mr. Delamonica can maybe address this issue. In doing ADA improvements on a property, there is a maximum that, depending on the cost of your improvement on the site, it's not as if, let's say your improvement, well, it would fall under this anyway, but let's say it's $78,000, your improvement. You only have to spend a certain percentage of that on ADA. Is that correct? Is that 10%?
That's correct. That's correct.
All right. So I think that's the other thing to be aware of too, because if you do your ADA improvement on your interior, i.e. a bathroom, for example, that's it. You shot your 10%. You wouldn't necessarily have to deal with the other accessibility issues. Is that correct?
And that's correct. And usually when an application's made, there's a declaration as to which component of accessibility they're intending to remediate in that particular effort. And then it's logged. They can create a work plan for themselves so that they can eventually build towards complete compliance in their next project or whatever else would happen. But yes, that latitude is built into the code.
Okay, good. I do find they would rather have an ADA bathroom than deal with a site improvement and a new driveway. So, okay, I appreciate it.
Just for clarification, that's separate from the offsite stuff.
Right. That's on private property for accessibility.
And clarification, that's a hardship waiver based on ADA, and it's about 20% reviewing that project. So it would be a project-specific analysis, not just a flat 10%.
Okay. All right, so do we need to make a motion to move forward with basically the recommendation of our city manager to come back with policy changes to reflect the $150,000, correct? A bump up from the $75,000. And then beyond that, a communication, how do you want to frame this, Mr. Lindsay?
Well, number one, we do need to take public comments.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Number two, Olivia, will we need to take a vote on this if we're going to have it at our next council meeting? Do we need a vote to postpone this item? Madam City Attorney?
Well, if there's a general consensus, we would be just giving direction to bring these items
Not a
back. So
vote.
you wouldn't formally need to do that, but if there's any disagreement, we need to kind of concentrate you all in one action, then we can do that. So, but
we
it
wanna
sounds like there's,
Bring it back to the next meeting with those suggestions?
I'm fine with that. You have to take public comment first, or?
I
what do
don't
you
think
wanna-
we need to bring it back. It sounds like there's unanimity. Would love to hear public comment.
Yeah.
Okay. I will open public comment. Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak on this item? Please come to the podium now. And Olivia, no comment cards.
I would just like to mention that I saw a notice on the Facebook City of Lodi page regarding code and changing as of January 1st, and how the policies will change. We're following a code enforcement based on a 2022 policy, and then as of January 1st, it'll be 2025's policy. And I'm wondering how that's going to affect pending projects, and if there's retroactive availability to those that are in the middle of, say, renewing their sidewalk or coming up with ADA funding for this. Does it retroactive back to the 2022 code enforcement policies, or do they now have to renew their project based on the 2025 policy?
Mr. Mayor, may I address that?
Absolutely.
If an application is made within any code cycle, that code cycle would remain intact until that project were to be complete. If a project were to start at the beginning of the new year, it would be subject to the new code.
In retrospect to that, say there's new
So I-
opportunities in 20.
One quick thing, Lindsay, I would just note, we try not to go back and forth.
Oh.
I'll let you finish 4 minutes, but just make sure, put all your questions in one statement, because you got 4 minutes total, and then our staff is allowed to reply to all that.
Okay, gotcha.
Thank you.
I guess on the other side of that spectrum would be if there are benefits to following a 2025, it's like when you sign up for AT&T and only new people get the promo. Is it when you enforce the January 1st, 2025 code law, people that are stuck with the 2022 project timeline and don't get to benefit from the new offerings, or for example, the deferment, or maybe a 50-50 cost share and they're in mid-project, has that been considered as a potential opportunity for prior projects? Thank you. That's all my questions.
And any other comments to that, John?
If I understood the question, if a project is underway, it is subject to the current code in which it was submitted under. If a change in the code were to modify a direction someone might take, as we adopt the new codes, in fact, we'll be having a code adoption coming before you in the second session in December. In that session, a few things will be highlighted that are principally the difference between the previous adopted code and this new cycle of code. So we bring that forward in public process in order to do that and kind of explain to council basics in terms of the modifications in the code. Obviously, we don't generate the code, but we must uphold the code. So we bring it forward to you in an informational piece. That in this session is I think, a good key for anyone attempting to do another project in the city would know that that new code is adopted. It'll be posted on websites saying what is our current code adoption, and that'll change as of January 1. We have lots of individuals who question on the code, and we're always available to address those as they come up on an individual project.
Thank you. And do we have any other members of the public that would like to speak on this item? Please do so now. Seeing none, I will move to council, and if we want to make a motion for it.
I would just want to clarify, we could, there's going to be so few instances of this, I'm sure, but we could make a retroactive. So let's say there is somebody in under the $75,000 and we move it to $150,000. If somebody's currently in the process, could we make it a retroactive?
Yes, there is a lot of discretion here. As far as the next steps of the council, to change the 75 to 150 would require an ordinance and a public hearing. And if we do receive that direction this evening, we are happy to agendize that public hearing at a future meeting. At that meeting, that public hearing occurs, I would also bring back any policy changes to the resolution.
Okay.
And I think what I heard and what I plan on bringing back, and would be a description in the policy of how we communicate to the community member, the resident, or the business owner that needs to make these improvements. And we'll provide you samples of, if a notice were provided, here is what you would, here is the improvements we have made in the community communication, and we give you a sample in that agenda packet. That's the changes to the policy so that we're providing that additional information, that softer approach, that timeline, the ability to make a payment program, the city standards, potentially even a list of pre-vetted contractors. All of that could come back to you in that policy change. And we would do that same night. We would be introducing the ordinance for the change from 75 to 150.
Can we at least give us as part of that meeting what financial impact could be on a 50-50 split? So at least we know, back to Councilmember Nakanishi's comment of, we can find some dollars to do some of these sidewalk improvements, because I just don't see them being a huge amount, but it does help those that are in low-income areas.
I think the approach there, the data we have doesn't have the dollar value of the sidewalk improvements. So I don't have data to give you to saying here's approximate budget increase. My recommendation is in the 26-27 budget discussions, which will be starting here in the next couple months, we just put in an extra $100,000 into sidewalk repair. And if the council's decision is to go 50-50 cost share, let's play that out by a year and see what happens.
Okay.
Sean, you had some comments.
I was just going to chime in also that it might be worth putting in a 50-50 cost share up to a max.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we have PCP comes in and they have a lot of frontage.
Well, PCP isn't actually a low-income, small
That's true,
business owner.
that's true.
So
But it might be worth
got a
just
lot of
putting a
write-ups.
max in there so you don't commit yourself to some
Yeah, I
large
agree.
number.
All right, so again, we're going to have to postpone this item for our next agenda.
no.
Let me see if I can make myself a little bit more clear. Since we have to do a public hearing, I could not put that on the December 3rd agenda, and that's the reorganization meeting.
Okay.
So we will pick an agenda by which we can do the public hearing and come back with policy change, if that's okay.
That's
Policy change and ordinance change.
Correct.
When you get to whatever hearing we need to.
Correct. We'll pick the right meeting date where we've got some space for
And
that public hearing.
I'm going to go ahead and move to item G3. Madam City Clerk.
Item G3 is to adopt a resolution approving the classification, job description, and salary of the new Administrative Services Director position, add one Administrative Services Director to the Internal Services Department fiscal year 2025-2026 budget, and delete Assistant City Manager position from both City Manager and Internal Services Department fiscal year 2025-2026 budgets. And I'll turn it over to our interim city manager again.
Thank you. This is an item that I have been talking to the city council on and off about now for several months. And it is not a significant change in our operations. We have typically, in the past, we've had an individual that oversees what we call the internal service functions of the city, which is our technology department, IT department, human resources, and our finance divisions. What my proposal is moving forward is that we have a department director position that is focused just on those activities and does not have the title of an assistant city manager or an expectation that they are in the policy arena with the city council or with the city manager. And they are focused in on those three functions, with the largest of those functions being the finance. The job description that we provided into the agenda packet, you'll see the qualifications. We are looking for somebody that is very, very heavy in the finance background. And that would allow them to hire somebody with those qualifications. The proposal is to keep assistant city manager within the city's classification system, so it's there. We would just remove the funding, and that would become an unfunded position. So in the event in a future year that the council wanted to, or decided that they wanted to fund that position, then that classification exists to do so. It would move the position out of administration and put it over into the Internal Services Department. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
So I think this is a great idea that you're making the organization more lean. And because like we have had conversations, like if we have the right directors in each department, for a city our size, the assistant city manager maybe is not even needed for this organization. And we will see throughout time how this works. So I think it's a good initiative to make the city more lean. Then not just because other cities has assistant city managers, we should have that, right? When we don't need that, right? So I like the idea.
I just have one question relative, since it is a strong finance background for this particular individual. You know, we do have the appointment of a city treasurer that council has to make. So that is just, right now, you serve as both city manager and city treasurer. We certainly can leave it the way it is for now, but the reality is at some point in time, interim city manager goes away, which means the city treasurer goes away. So should we be considering for this position the fact that that position could be eligible to be city treasurer? Let's put it that way.
Yes, in fact, you'll find that allowance in the job description. So it is very clear that if that's a position, it would be a logical position for the city council to pick as your city treasurer when that person is hired, and that is reflected in the job description.
Okay.
Comment, this is how it was before, it's like what we're doing right now, and I support what you folks are saying.
All right. Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, I will take a motion.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? And it passes. Item G4, Madam City Clerk.
G4 is to adopt a resolution approving side letter agreements with Lodi Police Dispatchers Association, the Police Officers Association of Lodi, Lodi Police Mid-Management Organization, Lodi Professional Firefighters, and Lodi Fire Mid-Management to address holiday leave cash-out requirements. And I will turn that over to Christina Jeremy.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. On behalf of HR, I just want to report out on this item. During the last financial audit, it was identified that we had incorrectly reported certain types of compensation to CalPERS, specifically for the city agreements, the MOUs with the 4 public safety labor groups. We did not meet CalPERS requirements for reporting holiday cash outs as pensionable under state regulations. Because public safety positions require staffing every day, including holidays, employees in these roles receive a bank of holiday leave each January. They may use this leave as time off during the year or cash out any unused hours. However, the way this benefit was described in the MOU did not meet CalPERS reporting standards. Our staff have worked really hard with CalPERS to review each of the 4 MOUs and identify the changes that are needed. And while these groups already allowed cash outs of unused holiday leave, the labor agreements lack the specific language CalPERS requires. The side letters that are included in the packet include the following provisions: reference relevant California Code of Regulation codes, clarify that holiday pay applies only to employees required to work on approved holidays, specify that cash outs or banking of holiday pay only apply to CalPERS Classic members, state that cash outs are processed once a year in the same period, the leave is earned, provide that holiday pay is issued regularly during the period it is earned, backdate the side letters to 2017 when CalPERS issued updated guidance for PEPRA members. It also lists all observed holidays in the policy. Each side letter now meets CalPERS requirements for reporting holiday cash outs as pensionable compensation, and therefore staff recommends council adopt a resolution approving the side letter agreements with the city's public safety bargaining units.
Do we have any council comments or questions?
Yes, the comment. This is what if I'm right, this is what we should have done a long time ago, is that right?
Yes.
Any others? Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak on this item? No comment cards? Seeing none, I will take a motion.
Call for the motion.
Second.
All in favor? Item G5, Madam City Clerk.
Item G5 is to adopt a resolution approving the memorandum of understanding between the City of Lodi and the Lodi Police Mid-Management Organization for the period of July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2028. And I would just like to note to council that we do have a blue sheet on this item, so the motion will need to include the blue sheet, and I will turn it over also to Ms. Jeremy.
Just want to note that the blue sheet in front of you, this version updates the chart on page 27 for the classic miscellaneous employee contribution rate to 7%, not 9%, and the total contribution obligation to be 10%, not 12%. And then the final salary amounts, if approved, are now included in Schedule A on page 44. So this item is regarding the Lodi Police Mid-Management Organization MOU term. The term ended previously June 30th, 2025. As council has desired to ensure that city staff salaries are at market medium, negotiations have been based on this directive. A tentative agreement has been reached with Police Mid, which proposes a 3-year term from July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2028. Medical insurance, the city to pay 90% of the medical premium based on the lowest cost HMO plan available. Equity adjustments as necessary to align with the city's compensation study with our 15 comparator cities. A 9% wage adjustment for the benchmark lieutenant classification over the term of the contract, so 3 years effective year 1, which would actually be July 7, 2025, 3% effective year 2, and 3% effective year 3. Effective July 7th, a one-time payment equivalent to 3% of base wages for the period the MOU was out of term, July 7th, 2025 through December 22nd, 2025, reducing the employee pension contribution to 12% for public safety employees and 10% for miscellaneous. A 2% graveyard incentive effective the first pay period after the MOU is signed. Bilingual pay increased to $200 per month, rolling the uniform allowance into base pay, increasing longevity pay, 10 years at 2.5%, 20 years at 5% of pay. Staff recommend council approve the MOU between the city and Lodi Police Mid-Management, as the MOU is appropriately balanced to provide enhanced safety to police mid at a reasonable cost to the city while ensuring a high level of police service to the community.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from council? Seeing none, do we have any members of the public that would like to make comments on this item? No comment cards? I will take a motion.
So moved.
Second? Oh, did you need blue sheet referenced? I'm sorry.
If we would redo the motion.
Reference.
Second.
All in favor? And moving to item G6, Madam City Clerk.
Councilmember Nakanishi, if I can have you vote one more time.
Oh, sure.
You're voting no for the
Thank
pay
you.
raise?
No, I got
Is that confirmed?
No, yes.
Item G6
Yep.
is to adopt a resolution repealing and replacing resolution number 80-101 and directing the city clerk to attend closed sessions of the city council to keep and enter in a minute book a record of topics discussed and decisions made by the city council. I'm not going to state when council and staff had this discussion because it was some time back, but staff received direction from the city council to update resolution number 80-101, which was adopted by the council at that time for the city clerk to attend city council closed session in order to record the motion and the vote for closed session items. Some of the items that have been cleaned up is, one, there was no mention of the deputy city clerk attending. the closed session when, in the absence of the city clerk. And while that has been past practice, it is now also stated within the resolution in case the city clerk is whether I'm not here at a conference or whatever, or whether there is some sort of conflict of interest where I'm not able to attend. Additionally, there has been direction from council to approve the resolutions at the following council meeting. So that was added as part of this resolution, is that once the council meeting, the closed session has been complete, the minutes are drafted, and they are back in closed session for the full council to review and approve before they're formally put in the minute book. That is new. We typically just create the minute book based on the notes that we collect as part of the closed session, and this will be an added measure for council to approve the minutes before they're added into the minute book. Those are the two major changes, and with that, I submit it to council for your review and approval.
And while Vice Mayor Yepez start?
So I wanted this item to come, and I think there's been many things that had happened in the last few months that finally we're here to talk about this, right? Like since August or July, we wanted to talk about this. So first, let's start with the clarification between the minutes. How are they different, like this proposal for closed session to regular meeting? Like, how are they different?
So the closed session minutes are confidential minutes, and they are not posted, whereas the regular open session minutes are posted on the agenda, and they are public record for constituents to see. However, within this proposed resolution, council didn't used to, or you currently are not reviewing or approving minutes, but you have the capability to see it, because you would be in the closed session. So you do have the ability to come to the city clerk's office and come and take a look at the minutes that the city clerk has prepared. With this resolution, not only would you have that ability, but you would also be approving those minutes, but you would still be approving them in closed session because they were conducted in closed session. So they are still confidential.
Okay.
That can answer that question.
Yes, that answered the question, but my other question was like, so you write on the closed session, you write the same thing as in the public section there, like for example, Councilman Yepez said blah, 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 or you don't?
I do, so currently I take notes as far as what the discussions are about, but the resolution doesn't speak to that. The resolution states that I would be only taking a motion and a vote.
There
So-
previously had been a resolution that council had passed that all minutes are just action minutes. So just the formal motion and vote taken. So all of the specific details on who said what is not required to be in there. So they are more summarized, and that's for all minutes.
Okay, right. Because for me, I would like then there's more notes to it, especially in the closed session. So for us to go back, if, for example, if I'm not there, I can go back to those minutes and like look at what was being said at the meeting. And since they're private, you have in a special place at City Hall that is super
It
secure,
has to be
right?
locked, yes.
They're both, we could see them. It wouldn't be available to the public, right?
Correct.
So.
So I have to just use this opportunity to underscore how important it is to have minutes for us to approve for every regular meeting and for every closed session. And that's why I think it's important to have this, partially because of what Vice Mayor Yepez said about recalling what it was that had been said or committed to. I know there have been times when I've looked at the minutes and said, oh, yeah, Councilmember Hothe asked for this. So what's the status of that activity? And so that is a good reminder for us to be able to follow up on actions, to City Attorney's point, action items. Now, the action items are usually the motion, and how we approve the motion. But sometimes there's those important details about, oh, and by the way, we'd like, as an informational issue, this to be followed up on. The only question I really have is, it is up to the discretion, I assume, of the council as a whole in closed session if they feel that it appropriate, the topics discussed and the decisions made by the council could be released to the public, correct? If council wanted to do so with a closed session item, reviewed it, and with the advice of council, said this is something we think is releasable.
There are certain items that you could waive privilege on and determine you wanted to release. Certain items, we would still have a duty to maintain confidentiality, but for most things, council could decide that they would like to release publicly.
I just wanted to clarify that because it's important to kind of understand everyone's position and on an issue. And if council as a whole feels it should be released, then we can make that decision to release it.
And that's a good clarification because then maybe somebody wants to release them, but then the co-counsel, the whole body doesn't want to.
Right.
It should be the majority to not release
Right.
that information, so.
Right.
Okay. So I just want to do that amendment then in the resolution to take notes too. Should just not be the action item, but actually take some of those notes like,
Individual statements.
yeah.
So would you like that to be
Should we just record it
amended?
at that point?
Would you like, so there's two ways that we can go about this. If you would like to add that to the motion, or if you would like me to come back with a modified resolution so you can see it before it is adopted. And it is up to council.
What do you guys think?
Thank you.
I trust that you'll be able to follow the direction we give here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so if you would like to include that in the motion, then we can update the resolution following the motion that is provided tonight. So if the motion is to approve the resolution with the amendment of, in addition to taking action notes, you would like the city clerk to also take more detailed notes to include council discussions and statements, that would be the motion for tonight. And you can modify it as you see fit.
We need public comment right before the motion, so.
I will now open
Put a pin in
public
that.
comment. Do we have any comment cards?
No.
Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak on this item? Seeing none? Do we have a motion?
State that motion.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to approve the resolution to have the record book maintain topics discussed, including comments, relevant comments made by city council members and decisions made by the city council as a whole.
Second?
All in favor? And moving to item G7, Madam City Clerk.
G7 is to provide direction to staff regarding the establishment of a volunteer/non-paid position of wine ambassador, and I will turn this over to the mayor, see as he
All right.
requested this item.
So this isn't a huge item, but on a few different levels, it could be as some use, economic development, ceremonial role, and possible tourism. Again, it's a very, very small spoke in the wheel. We were just talking about the BID district, right? It would be nice to have one person to be able to communicate what's going on in the wine industry, with the city of Lodi, and we're talking about one representative on that board being from the city limits. It would actually be nice to possibly have this ambassador be that individual. And again, give us updates on how the industry is doing. Wine is a huge part of, again, the tourism and economic portion of the city. It is a ceremonial role. Again, I believe our farmers are having, well, I know our farmers are having a very difficult time with the price of the market of the grapes. And again, I think that, again, a small role like this could help promote Lodi wine if used correctly. And just, again, an opportunity for public education. So I did want to give this to council and get some feedback on it.
I've got to start this out. I floated this idea with all of the leading organizations, either currently doing marketing or dealing with wine, grape growing, and I don't want to confuse the situation. I think we need to stay in our lane. We've got a wine grape commission and a wine bid that just got accepted by the Board of Supervisors. This is their job, to be the ambassador for wine. The same thing with Visit Lodi, who's working closely with the Wine Grape Commission. We now will have on that wine bid at least 4 Lodi wineries within our city boundaries, potentially serving on that body. And I think every council member can be a wine ambassador. I think the fact is that's part of our job, is to support our industries and make sure that our businesses understand we do that. I think that's already Luis's job as well when he's dealing with the industry. So I don't want to muddy the waters. I just feel as if we shouldn't be creating a position when all of our other partners are playing that key role. I just don't want to confuse messaging and marketing. So I think every council member, I think Mayor, you can certainly do that. But I just don't think we need to create a non-paid position within the city to take on that responsibility. So kind of my viewpoint.
All right. Any other council comments?
Is this at the request of the industry or what?
No, this was just an idea that I had floated around to one of the Lang twins a few months, or actually about a year ago now.
I kind of view Stuart Spencer as this role, so I mean, if he or somebody was wanting to ask the city to do it, I think that would, be okay, but I just don't know.
Okay. Any others?
We do have like a week that we recognize wine, right? I just don't recall. We do, right? At some point in the year? Or
proclamation,
right? Or we don't? Do you guys recall anybody?
Well,
Because we should do then that, and it could be essentially this, right?
actually, the mayor just did the
you
Zinfandel
did?
capital
Oh,
of the
yes,
world.
that is
So there you
correct.
go. There's
Was that
there's
last
our-
agenda?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there is our option to recognize and just support. I think everything we can do to publicize the industry, through the city as partners is a good thing to do. So, yeah, just following on with whatever marketing efforts are going to come out of the wine bid and Wine Grape Commission. Go to Grape Day. You learn a lot at Grape Day, so that's something we can do as council members as well.
And the downtown P-bid.
And the downtown
Correct.
B-bid, which will have,
Now-
tasting rooms as part of it. So-
Olivia, do we need a vote on this, or can we let this item go?
I mean, if there's no direction to move forward with this, then that's it.
Perfect. All right.
But
Well, I will.
If you would like to open it
Public
up for
comment?
public comment?
Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak on this item? Absolutely.
Just a suggestion, instead of a wine ambassador, what if we had someone that wrote in the Sentinel an article weekly, the Wine Weekly, something like that, just to update our local newspaper participants in our wine business?
Take the idea to Stuart.
Yeah. Our wine ambassador.
Yeah, our wine ambassador.
Any other members of the public like to speak on this item? Seeing none, we will move to the, I believe, last item of the night, G8. Madam City Clerk.
G8 is to consider adopting a resolution appointing Councilmember Nakanishi as mayor for the remainder of Mayor Bregman's 2025 term, making him one of the longest-serving mayors in Lodi's history. Mayor, I will turn it over to you.
And I believe that pretty well sums it up. Do we have any comments or questions?
Is it
Council?
the longest-serving mayor? Not the one of? You got-
Almost.
You got 2 more
Almost.
weeks, Alan. Will that be the longest-serving mayor?
It's a 1 week, it's a 1 week term,
Okay.
and I've got some ideas.
See,
What we like to hear.
We've set ourselves up for, huh?
Amen.
And I think you like my
Oh,
idea.
good.
Good.
But I can't do it. I can't tell you now unless I'm.
It's going to be a surprise.
Oh, that's actually quite scary. No. I do have a small speech since this will be my last time as mayor, and I think they say the There's the two happiest days, the day you get in, the day you leave it, and I will say I'm leaving with a smile, and it's been an honor all the way. I would first like to thank God for the health and wealth it takes to fulfill this duty. Without him, I am nothing. Thank you to my constituents, my family, my friends for making this a reality. Lodi is more than just brick and mortar. It is more than one government or one business. It is more than one person. We are community judged not by our problems, but by our ability to come together to solve them. The opening of Pietro's, the opening of Market Tavern, Papa Pavlo's, the success in our economic development plans, our city's expansion, enforcing tobacco and limiting mini marts, our downtown specific plan, 150 individuals off the streets, 40 of those job placements, doubling the amount of cleanups, stabilizing our budget, improving our financial systems. These are all things that our entire city share in as far as the success of Lodi. And I am honored to have been a spoke in the wheel. I believe I'll take a motion for this item now.
I'll make the motion.
I will second.
And all in favor? And I will take my worn-down gavel with me, okay? All right.
I got a minute, 1 minute? All right.
Yes, absolutely, Doctor.
I want to thank you guys for this special occasion. Who has this kind of honor given to him? And I want to thank my city council members, city manager, the staff, the department, and all the employees. It's because of you that this is a great city. And this considered, you should be thankful. I came here, I'm thankful after I had this closed session. I think Lodi is in a bright spot now. It's been a tough year, right? And we're going to start next year with a good year. So thank you again for this honor.
Now, am I allowed to let Dr. Nakanishi end the meeting? Okay, Doctor, I'm going to switch seats with you. You get to use the gavel.